you got to ask any question you wanted to the creator of Game of Thrones. I mean, so as you were thinking about that, like, how did you decide what you even wanted to ask?
But I will say the question I enjoyed hearing from him the most was just like the history lesson he delivered.
Mm-hmm. There's like 5 minutes, just like boom. This is amazing. You want to know about this thing ever.
But I look up, and all of a sudden George R. R. Martin is just like walking in, and I was like, drop everything in my hands. Hello.
Hello, 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 you sexy sci-fi and fabulous fantasy fans. Welcome to the first episode of Nerdy Nebula Podcast. I'm one of the co-hosts, Nicholas W. Fuller, and I've been doing interviews on YouTube for a couple years now and having a good time doing it. But I thought, wouldn't it be more fun if I made it just a little bit bigger? So with that, Nerdy Nebula Podcast was born. We're going to be making changes in that it won't just be available on YouTube, but we'll also make it available on podcast platforms. We're going to talk our favorite nerdy stuff, and we'll focus on books and bookish stuff, but sometimes we'll also be talking about nerdy movies or maybe even video games, that sort of thing. And more often than not, we will have a guest, but it will always be a relaxed, casual, conversational style chat, not just a stuffy interview. But the thing I'm most excited about is that I'm going to be able to have co-hosts now. I've brought in a few of my favorite people that I absolutely love to chat with to be a rotating crew of co-hosts with me. You'll get to meet all of them next episode as we introduce ourselves. But in this episode, I figured we'd bring in the big guns and call in the royalty of SFF podcasting space to help us ease into this. We got to chat with all three of the co-hosts of SFF Addicts podcast and discuss their amazing panel they recorded live at Worldcon 2025. So fun. In this conversation, we talked about the vibes in the room during the panel, how they picked the questions to ask the panelists, what their answers would have been to some of the same questions, and so much more, as we had a ton of laughs and a great conversation. This episode definitely sets the tone that we're going to have in this podcast. One very quick shout out to our presenting sponsor, Campfire, the all-in-one platform for authors. Check them out at campfirewriting.com. Now enjoy the show. Yeah, you guys have been doing the podcast for a little bit. And you kind of just had a moment pretty recently, because at Worldcon you did what was your first live show, and you decided that you're going to come out swinging and set the bar at the top because you had.
We're never gonna reach that pinnacle again.
Adrian's
Right?
been like, how are we gonna beat it? And I was like, that's an unhealthy mindset, Adrian.
Get out the Ouija board and contact
Shifting
Tolkien.
goalposts.
Yeah, there you go.
Robert Jordan, where are you?
There you go.
Right. Yeah, you guys, kind of still just a few weeks ago, you had Robin Hobb, Rebecca Runhorse, Ryan Cahill, Brandon Sanderson, and George R. R. friggin' Martin, all just hanging out on a stage with you. No big deal, right? Super chill.
Yeah.
Just super chill. Super chill. I mean, it was like months and months of work, man. Like, I put as much effort into that panel as I did into like a book launch.
For sure. Yeah.
At least, yeah. I was gonna say, all the coordination, especially, you were doing with the Dragonsteel team, and yeah, you were.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do a thing, you may as well just aim for the fences.
Big.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's pretty much been our mentality for the show, is like, I don't know if anyone has listened, they know we've had a lot of really, really big authors on, and for the most part, that's just kind of like, well, fuck it. Like, if I don't ask, then I don't know if they'll say yes or not.
Right? The worst that can happen is that they'll say no, or they won't respond, and then that
nobody's ever going to be like, no, you suck. Don't ever talk to me.
That put you in the same place you were in before you asked. So like,
exactly. It's like, I'm here, and if I ask and they say no, I'm still here. But if they say yes, then it's like, cool. We're just like a little bit higher.
Right. Yeah, I gotta say, we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but I was able to watch that in person. The whole thing was
We called
amazing.
you out on stage during the Q&A, dude.
You sure did.
Yeah.
I felt big right there. You're like, there he is.
I actually like pointed at you, man.
You're famous.
Right? Yeah, I had my moment to shine. It was delightful. But yeah, man, like, it was inspiring. I've been thinking for a long time about changing up a few things about my show, but then it was like, I felt like that was a little bit of a kick in the butt that I needed to start doing it. So I was like, all right, time to change. And now we've got this. So I've been doing YouTube interviews for like a couple years, but, I've been doing a lot of them live. Now I'm going to be doing them pre-recorded. Now I'm going to have co-hosts like Dana, which is super fun, right? And, going to be a little bit different vibe, which is a good time. Be able to talk with my friends. So there's a few things that I want to ask every time and have a little bit of consistency, and I want to talk a little bit about like kind of favorite books and favorite movies and favorite games and whatever. But if you've seen any of my previous interviews, you know that it's very freeform, and that's going to be the jam too. There's going to be a touch of that consistency, but it's going to be very all over the place wherever the conversation takes us, because that's more fun. So the place it's taking us now, we're going to start with talking about that panel. That was, I mean, yeah.
Like we spent that morning like moving like a stage and
Yeah,
tables and
moving
things.
stage.
I had a wrench in my hand. I was crawling on the ground. I felt
MJ, you got to show off your biceps. I had a
Yeah.
wrench in my
I'm
hand.
so handy.
Them guns. It worked out for me. By the time I walked in, there was just no one on that first row that was for the non-handicap row, and I'm like, I'm getting right in here, you know, just sliding in there and picking a great seat, and it was. But then, you know, I see you guys getting ready and everything, and I'm like, you know, and then I see Brandon, I think, was one that, no, George was just like, I think you guys had said that he was, is there somewhere I can sit? And like, you were
George
yeah, sure.
was first. Can I tell the story? Because it's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
funny.
It's so
Please.
funny.
I mean, it's because, okay, so we're running around. Greta's looking for water bottles. Adrian is dealing with tech issues. I'm standing backstage with like an armful of tablecloths, I think, whatever, because we're, you know, it's crazy.
Table
And
skirts, MJ.
Yeah, table skirts. That's right. It was a whole thing.
Get it right, MJ.
But I look up, and all of a sudden, George R. R. Martin is just like walking in, and I was like, drop everything in my hands. Hello, you know, and then you panic. And then we had this whole grand plan where we were going to like be on stage, and it was going to be like exciting. We were going to introduce all the guests one at a time. They're going to walk out. It was going to be all choreographed. It's going to be great. And then George comes in and he's like, yeah, is there somewhere I can sit? We even had a chair for him backstage ready. And I was like,
We had a
oh,
couch.
good.
Yeah.
This chair right
Yeah.
here. And I'm like pulling it out. And then I turn back around to look at him, and he's like mounting the stairs to the stage.
He's gone.
And I was like, you know,
Yeah. Just
yep.
fuck it.
Yeah.
plans.
Yeah.
He was really sweet, but he was just like, girl, I am not getting up again. Like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to be comfy. And this is the life. And I was like, fair.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we had to
And
change
he
the plan.
did, like, to
but
be
it was great.
fair, dude sat there for like 2.5 hours. Props.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
everyone did. Yeah.
It was great. But anyways, so that was kind of funny. And like, just sudden stress, but it was great. Good
George
stress.
just want to sit down.
I just watched the whole thing today. So, but I'm just curious because I didn't get to experience it up front. Like, what was the energy like in the space for you guys? Because I'm like sitting there on my couch, like, and so I can't imagine like what it was like to
Yeah.
be in the space.
It was
I mean, it was
very
kind-
much the same energy of
Yeah.
just like rapt attention.
Yeah.
From like the moment George sat down, like everyone was just like,
Like, oh my God, he's here.
it's
Because
here.
it was kind of like a build up. Because we'd gone there like the day before. We'd check the space out and be like, wow, this is like way bigger than we thought it would be. And then we went in the morning and we had like a meeting with the tech team and then helped them like deconstruct like a stage that was there from the night before and everything. And so it's like we had familiarized ourselves with the space, but then to see it full of people was like, holy shit, this is like way more nerve-wracking than I thought
Yeah.
it would be.
Yeah.
But
did you see it filling in, or did you only see it when it
No, I was
full?
like-
it felt like I
I
turned
was in the
around
zone.
and
Yeah.
suddenly
That's what I was
people
gonna
were
say.
there.
Kind of did, or
Yeah.
I did a little bit, but it was like, you know, in snippets because we were so chaotic.
yeah, because we were like backstage and we
glad.
were saying we were like helping certain people, like we were dipping into like other areas and stuff like that. And then when I was like, okay, now I got to deal with tech stuff, and then I was like, oh wow,
Right.
there's a lot of people.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of glad it was a little chaotic in the beginning, though, because I think it would have been more nerve-wracking to watch
If we had more
everyone file
time,
in.
to, like if it was more
Yeah.
calm,
Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
a lot
And
of stuff
instead
to
it was just like,
distract us.
run,
Right,
and run.
And
Well,
yeah.
speaking of trial by fire, like we were saying before the cameras started rolling, like either we sink or swim, but either way it's happening, so we may as well just
Right?
fucking
Train has
go
left the
for
station.
it.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
like literally fix like tech issues on the dot. It was like our panel started at 3, and I was like, and then Greta like calls out to me from the stage, be like, "Come on, Adrian, we're waiting for you." And I was like, well, now like literally like 1,000 eyes are on me.
Thanks,
but
Greta.
then, yeah, but then Ryan just like came in the clutch and was just like, round of applause for Adrian. I was like, thank you, dude. Thank you for making this less awkward.
That's like a skill that
Yeah.
Ryan Cahill has.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
taking moments that might be awkward and making them very funny.
I was so glad that he was on that panel
Yeah.
just for the fact that he was like, regardless of like anything else that was going on, you know, it was like George loves to ramble, and Ryan would just like come in with like a super witty quip right at the end there, and it would be like perfect tonal palate cleanser.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
And it's
the
like
entire
the
time.
biggest skill that a guest could have is like
Yeah.
serving up like the soft volley for the next
Yep.
like
He was like
speaker
the
to just
yeah.
crush it.
Yeah, he was like, I don't know. He was like, I'm trying to think of like a basketball reference or something. It's like Shaquille and Kobe or something like that. Ryan was just like setting us up for the alley-oop every time. It was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was definitely the impression I was having watching it all. It was I did like his banter and whatnot was so good. Dana and I were talking just before about because she had just watched the video, and we were talking about how the vibe there when we were watching it live was like, oh, there goes Grandpa George again, Because there were a few times, where he just going and going, and like I actually I kind of felt bad for you guys a little bit. Bad, I mean, you guys were fine, but like I mean, I could tell that like there was once or twice where Adrian was like hoping to sort of rein George in, and like there was
no,
it
it's
was
impossible.
It could not be
dude.
done. Yeah.
No.
But
Yeah.
like in my view, I think we might have tried harder to corral, except we knew like at
Yeah.
least half the people in this crowd are
Yeah.
largely here to see this man speak. So like, let him
Right.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's got more words in his body than any of us will ever produce. So
Yeah.
Right.
let him out.
And at the same
Let him out.
time, it's like we also were given like a pretty good amount of time to do the panel, and
Right,
like
Yeah.
which was
I
nice.
feel like we managed the time surprisingly well, all things
Yeah.
considered. But
No, there was like even when Grandpa George was going, like there wasn't a time where I was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, it was like I was engaged, dude. It was a good
just
And
like,
Dana was
come on,
Dana like
come
I
on,
think
Georgie
you just
boy.
watched the actually Dana has ADHD that sometimes presents in fun ways, like when she's critiquing my work and she gets stuck on particular words. Anyway, but
Do not put the word looms in your work. It will trigger me.
looms.
loom, yeah.
Looms.
Okay,
said-
I'm gonna put like a mycelium loom in my book just to fuck with
No,
you.
like the verb.
one.
Oh,
Okay.
Is it
Looming.
something looming,
Okay.
or is
Yeah.
it
Okay.
The
spinning
moon
on a
was
loom?
looming in
Okay.
the sky, and I
Okay.
could not get past this line. Like I was
Yeah,
Right.
that's
like,
fair.
"What?
That's fair.
What?
I had the moon looming, and we've been talking about it for 2 years now.
Yes, yeah.
We'll never be rid of it.
I will never be over that. No.
I mean, sorry, the moon is still looming every night.
You're right.
Looming right now.
I know, it looms above us.
No, I can't see it.
No, but we were just like she had just watched this today, the whole thing, and she's like, man, I watched the whole thing. She said, the last time I sat and watched something that was like 2 hours long. Like,
Yeah, look, that wasn't a movie. Like, I tell them, I'm like, I can't do audiobooks because I tune them out and I go like into outer space in my brain and I can't. I'm like,
Yeah.
nope,
Yeah.
whole time, poof, like full attention. So kudos to
I'm
y'all
glad to
for
hear
reining
that.
in my
Thank
ADHD.
you.
There we go.
Like
That's
now, I
why
just
we
need you
did
to
this.
follow me around and narrate everything.
Perfect. We got this.
if you could maybe
Challenge
bring
accepted.
bring your marching band instrument too, MJ.
There
Ooh,
you go.
there you go.
Now we're
Yeah,
talking. Okay,
Yeah.
beat for us.
We got
Great.
this.
That was super fun watching it live, and the energy was immaculate. And I remember, and that was like I said, the whole thing was just so inspiring too to hear from all of the different authors. I also walked away with even more respect for Brandon Sanderson because I already kind of the way that he operates his business and whatnot. I was like, man, this guy but then he there's every possibility that Brandon is no stranger to talking, right? Like he does his lectures, he does his podcast, whatever. But he didn't run away with it, He definitely understood the assignment, and it was very professional, and I was impressed with the way that he did it all,
Yeah, he was
And
so
I mean,
gracious.
working with Dragonsteel really showed us that this is a phenomenal company from top to bottom. I wish I didn't get the chance to actually tell Brandon to his face, dude, well done with your company. Not just your writing, not your career, everything. Well done with your company. You've hired really capable, proficient people
And just lovely
and
people.
really lovely people
Everyone we
across
worked
the
with
board.
over there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
And so it's actually editing this whole thing. because I told Dragonsteel, like, I'll take care of the editing. You get me the files. I got files from Dragonsteel because they had their camera team. And I'm actually so glad that they had their camera team, because like their angles were so much better and they were so much more consistent of tracking who was actually speaking. And so basically it's like I had two like 100 gigabyte video files from Dragonsteel, and then two like 100 gigabyte like each file was like 100 gigabytes. I had to just like go crazy with some hard drives at home, being like, oh my god, my computer was like, what are you doing to me?
Sounds like there's a jet taking off in Adrian's office.
Every time I like uploaded those files to anything. But I'm so glad that the Dragonsteel team was there, because they had much more like dynamic angles and everything like that, and so I was able to compile it. Like Dana, you got to watch it on YouTube, and so it's like I was actually able to have the camera on the speaker the entire time, and I was able to change the angles and make it. I think that's probably why, like, for anyone watching video, it feels more engaging, because there are so many different angles, and it feels like this is a much more captivating experience, because it's not just like a single frame the entire time. You know what I mean? So it was really good that I was able to get all that footage from everyone and be able to edit and stitch it together in such a way where it's like, cool, this is legit, like really beautiful, all the footage. And at the same time, it's going to be way more engaging for anyone who decides to watch this, whether it's on like our channel or on Brandon's channel or whatever.
So I guess you got to ask them a lot of fun questions, and we got to hear a lot of their answers. So I wanted to kind of turn some questions on you guys on some of the topics that you guys kind of talked about. So they talked a lot about the importance of research. So I want to know like the weirdest thing you guys have had to research for a book.
Oh God.
Tell us your search history.
I know. Well, that's the thing. I always joke that I'm on lists. I'm probably not joking though.
I will not.
No.
I will never release it.
I am definitely on lists.
Okay, I kind of have one, because right now.
Greta, you look so stressed.
I am so stressed. I don't know if I can tell the story.
Greta, I'm writing horror now. It's fine. We can be in the same lists.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
good.
true.
We'll be
Yeah.
on the same list. We'll
I
be
mean, I
company.
wrote a murder mystery, so I'll tell you guys some messed up stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. No, so the story I'm working on right now is like a horror story set in Appalachia. So I did a lot of research on like Appalachian cryptids, Appalachian, like, you know, just kind of like the creepy whatever. And then now like my TikTok algorithm is like all people telling stories of like their creepy woods experiences in Appalachia.
Good.
And
Like
I
half
have
the things
zero,
I send you now.
zero complaints about this. Like I'm like
okay.
scrolling with glee. So yeah, I would say reading a bunch of stuff about like skinwalkers and like all sorts of really cool creepy stuff. That's probably my most recent interesting research thing.
I would nope out of all that so
My,
hard. I'd be like, oh, the creepy stuff? No. TikTok, we need to change this algorithm.
Yeah.
I'm like 1 o'clock in bed, like, ooh.
No, but MJ, it's like I make like I don't know, kind of like burner accounts where I use that for like watching weird shit on YouTube.
I have
That's
found
stuff
myself
like
on the
that.
Nutty Putty
Yeah.
Cave side of TikTok, and it's like, this is horrifying. No, thank you. Get me away from this.
Yeah, I'm the biggest wuss, but I can't look away from Appalachian Horror Story sites of TikTok.
Oh, I was
So,
like, Greta,
every
you
day
put
I've been like
nephew now, and
sending
I'm
her.
like, bring 'em on.
Oh
It's
my
so
God, that's
fascinating,
horrible.
It's so fascinating though, like just the folklore of Appalachia and like that mountain.
Well, because that mountain
ecological
range
region.
is older than like
Yeah. No, that is one of the oldest mountain ranges on
Much of
Earth,
the
and also
world, yeah.
those forests are just like so rich and biodiverse. But there's
Super
so much
ancient.
weird shit that's going on.
Yeah.
I'm a nerd out in a weird way. Did you know that the Appalachian Mountain Range actually it's the same mountain range in the United Kingdom? Because like the
they
mountain
were
range
attached
was
at one
formed
point.
when the
Like,
plates
goes
were
under the
together,
water?
like before the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah.
It's like the mountains of like Scotland. And
Dana,
everything.
thank you
Yeah,
for like you
just
gave me
all
the perfect
smashed.
reaction there. I appreciate you. Just, oh.
This is literally why he asked me. He's like, I like your facial expressions, and I need you to bring the chaos. Like
Yeah,
when we're
yeah.
in writing group together, he's just
That's
like, what, he's
perfect.
like, what is that face, and what are you doing for there?
You're like, I don't know.
Bring
I
that
don't
energy
control
to
it.
my
My face
podcast.
has subtitles, okay?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Right,
MJ,
right.
MJ too. I always screen cap her like most bizarre laugh,
Yeah,
laughing
if you see the
expressions.
screen grabs
yeah.
in the promo
Yeah.
images,
Yeah.
it's always the one where I look the craziest. Which
Yeah,
is fair.
it's like-
I'm known
It's like
in my family as the photo ruiner
yeah,
because
it's like her jaw
I am.
just like opens.
like, everyone else will be like,
like,
and I'll be like, every time, I accept it. It's fine.
I love it.
Not a photogenic girl. I'm good with it.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but to your question, Dana, I'll speak. Okay, so like for Mushroom Blues, I spent a lot of time researching like what happens to dead bodies in different circumstances. Like what happens to a body when it's in water, or like submerged in water. What are like what's the sea life gonna do to it? What happens if it's winter time and the water is colder? How like slow is the decomposition in comparison to like summer and all this weird fucked up stuff? And then the novella I'm writing right now is basically like, it's not weird, but there's a lot of sushi related stuff going
Hell
on
yeah.
in like my everything. And so
Okay,
it's
so
like,
next time we're all at a con, Adrian's making us sushi, is what I'm hearing.
That's
I
what
mean,
I'm
I
hearing.
have made
And-
sushi before.
Yeah.
Actually, for my novella, like my consultant is like my best friend from since I was 3 years old, who ended up, he's not a sushi chef anymore, but he was a professional chef, then was a sushi chef for 3 summers, and then now he's a carpenter. He pivots like harder than anybody I ever known in my life.
Mad respect.
But yeah,
Yeah.
he was like my consultant for this, and I've made sushi with him in the past when I've been visiting back home in Canada. So it's not out of my wheelhouse, MJ.
Perfect.
So,
All
yeah.
I'm
So I
hearing
think-
is, yes, I'm making you sushi, so I'm good.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was kind of like fun to put those questions together and be like, damn, I wish we had like more time to actually like answer these ourselves or just like talk to these authors about the things that we're asking them. But
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
it is what it is.
You got to ask any question you wanted to the creator of Game of Thrones. I mean,
Yeah.
so as you were thinking about that, like, how did you decide what you even wanted to ask? You know?
Well, I think, like, in a weird way, part of the reason George might have said yes to the panel was because it wasn't specifically about Game of Thrones.
Yeah, or it wasn't specifically about him. It was like,
Yeah. It
You
was
know?
more about the legacy of science fiction and fantasy as it has
Mm-hmm.
changed throughout his massive career. So I don't know that we necessarily geared any particular questions toward him specifically, but I will say the question I enjoyed hearing from him the most was just like the history lesson he delivered.
Yeah.
yeah,
At like the very beginning of this is what modern science fiction and fantasy was when it first
Yeah.
began. It was
and
awesome.
honestly, it was super cute when Brandon would like thank George for that. You know,
Yeah.
he's like, thank you for that like brief history lesson kind of thing, and then just like boom, like carried the baton and ran with it, which is great because it was like Greta said, I think the only questions that we specifically geared to people was like mostly about crowdfunding Kickstarter stuff for Brandon and how that fits into like publishing epic fantasy, Ryan and
He
self-publishing.
seems
and that kind
a
of
good
stuff.
one to ask that too,
Yeah,
you know?
I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
Right? So
It was a
Um,
little.
Right.
But the part that was like for us, I think the best was the fact that all of the panelists were bouncing off of each other in a very comfortable way, where it's like, cool, we don't have to do that much hand holding here.
Right.
Yeah.
Like we can let this person talk, and Ryan's going to come in with a quip, Rebecca's going to say something, Robin's going to respond to it, George is going to ramble for 10 minutes, Brandon's going to have like really concise, like here's like a 5-minute just like boom, this is all the information you want to know about this thing ever. And so it was really nice that they were all playing off of each other really well, because we kind of approach the questions the same way we do for any
Yeah.
of our guests on
for
the
all
podcast,
shows. Yeah.
which is basically just like we have a shared Google Doc and we just like throw some shit in there and then start building a framework and then fleshing it out and then making the question like legible and basically just as clear as possible when we're asking it so that the people who we're asking understand it. And so it's kind of like, yeah, what are the things that we want to know about? It's like, of course, epic fantasy. We want to know about TV adaptations and film adaptations and stuff like that. George, you've had a show that has been adapted and like completely changed the landscape of epic fantasy as a result, you know?
Just casually.
Brandon, like you've gone through like adaptation hell, and Rebecca is in the midst of like getting one of her book or her trilogies adapted to TV. And so it's kind of like, okay, we can just kind of throw this question out there and know that different people are going to have different perspectives on this thing. So it wasn't necessarily like, this one's for you, George. When's Winds of Winter coming? And it's like, oh, we didn't
when
need
we
to.
approached writing the questions, we agreed that that was not what we were going to ask.
Yeah.
And then also,
And he acknowledged it when he introduced himself. He's like, I know
for
it's late.
Well, and he made jokes about Tolkien. Where's the next book? Right? Like, you know.
Yeah.
That was funny.
But no, I think like whenever I'm approaching questions, and same for this panel, my goal is always I want to say as little as possible. And that's not just because I hate the sound of my voice on recording, which I do, but it's also because like just that I feel like the goal of the question is like, what is the question that is going to maybe spur someone to just give like an unprompted 10-minute TED talk? You know, and yeah, I think we got some good ones. And I think that just with the panel in general, like, yeah, getting big names was like part of the goal. But part of the goal too was having like a span of people, right? Because it was about the
Yeah.
changing landscape. So like some
Yeah.
of the like,
I
you
mean,
know,
MJ,
more
weren't we talking before about like we wanted to introduce everybody, be like, this is where you're sitting, because we didn't want Robin and George to sit next to each
I know,
other,
and
because
they
then they'd
just
be like,
naturally
and they
sat
just
next to
went-
each other, but like they were friends and they hadn't seen each other in a while. So I
yeah,
was
exactly,
like, whatever.
exactly, yeah, because our plan was like, do we want like the two old
We
authors
wanted
to sit
everybody
next to each
mingled.
other?
We were gonna sit some of like
Yeah.
the like newer guard with
Right.
you know
The
George
old
and
guard.
We
like
didn't want like
Robin.
Robin and Rebecca to be on one
Spread
side
them
and all the
out,
boys
and
on the
yeah.
other side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was fine. They had a mind of their own, and that's cool.
Yeah.
yeah.
But the
So
nice
it's
thing
all-
about
it's all good,
having
that's
that breadth of diversity on the panel is that much like when you're writing a book, there's no one right way of doing it, and they all had their different perspectives. So it was fun hearing like the point counterpoint kind of parts of the panel.
Yeah.
Where, you know, Robin was given George or Brandon shit for saying that she was writing the response to
so great.
Tolkien. I love it.
Yeah, or I've known Rebecca for years, so I knew it's like she's never read Tolkien, so I was like, let's throw this into the mix, see what happens.
Wouldn't it be so nice if you could outline your novel, organize your world building, write your book, format your EPUB, and publish it on the same website? Well, you're in luck. Campfire is the all-in-one platform for authors, offering both a full-featured writing software and KDP-style publishing, but with 80% royalties and none of the predatory practices you're stuck with when you publish with a monopoly. Campfire's tools feature versatile panels that make creating characters as simple as moving note cards around a corkboard, only much more organized, convenient, and without the inherent dangers of working with thumbtacks. Its wide range of tools include templates for creating settings, a magic system builder, and more, all of which are connected to a word processor that makes it easy to reference your notes as you write. When you're ready, publish your book on Campfire's ebook shop and include artwork, world-building notes, short stories, and more for readers who want to explore your setting in more detail. Try Campfire today at campfirewriting.com and bring your book to life. Oh, man. All right. You've like inadvertently queued up like a little sort of tangent, sort of related, but I'm gonna
Let's roll with it.
try to thread the needle across three different things that I want to talk about here that you've sort of queued up. Right? Yeah.
Love it.
So you mentioned games, right? So one of the first interviews that I got to do was with Travis Baldry, which was amazing. And Travis, for anyone that doesn't know, he's now like a New York Times bestselling author, but he also is a professional audiobook narrator. And prior
And
to
a video
that,
game developer.
Prior to that, he had a successful career as a video game developer, which is like amazing. Like
What
just
a
doing all
trifecta
sorts
of careers.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
No, but it's also like the games that he designed are really good, like legit good.
Travis, everything he touches is gold, and you can't even be mad because he's so
I know.
freaking
He's
nice.
So nice.
Yeah, I did ask Travis if he was part Fae because I agree with you. Like everything that he does is just like magic touched, you know.
Yeah.
But because he had this background as a game developer, it was really interesting talking with him, and he had this concept that has stuck with me for like 2 years now. I can't get this out of my head, but like the communities are so different. The communities are so wildly different, right? If you make a game and people don't like your game, you're going to hear about it a whole lot, and they might like be very active about the ways that they try to let you know, like I think he himself has been like doxxed and whatnot with his with the game company and whatnot, which is just insane. And he's like, whereas with a book, if you don't like the book, maybe you leave a bad review, but you move on, right? And his whole premise to it was that in a game, you are the hero, and the whole game is centered around your experience, whereas a book is teaching empathy, and you're like learning about like the characters and what the characters are doing, having to connect. I can't get that out of my head. And
So
like,
are you saying in terms of like in a video game, it is so much more personal because you are the avatar.
Yeah, because you're the person. This
directing
is
the
why
experience.
I've
Yeah.
said for years, this is why it's so hard to do a game adaptation into film, because you're taking away that participatory element. And so that's why so many of them fail. But anyways, just my tiny
Right.
I mean, I still think they could make a really good Mass Effect movie or like TV show.
Okay, they're working on it theoretically, and I'm nervous because you make so many decisions that matter
Right.
so much. If they make a Mass Effect one,
Right,
it
that's
better
true.
just be set in the world, and you
That's true.
better not be fucking Shepard.
Because then there's
I
going to be
mean,
like a
they
huge. There's
ruined
going to be a
Halo like
huge.
6 times by trying
Yeah,
to
that's
adapt it.
true.
Like,
There's going to be like a huge segment who's just like, how come it's not Fem Shep? And then there's like a
Okay,
bunch of
that's
people
what I
who
was
are
gonna
like,
say.
yeah,
Fem
just
Shep
that
is
alone.
the only Shep for me because
Yeah.
the voice acting is just better. I'm sorry, whoever
The
voice
voice
acted
actress
male
is
Shep.
really good for Fem Shep.
But,
Yeah. But
anyways, I'm sorry, Nick. You were going somewhere, and then Adrian mentioned Mass Effect, and I just
She got
couldn't
triggered.
stop
that is
myself.
MJ's catnip. Yeah.
It
Yeah,
is.
right?
I'm
No,
sorry.
yeah.
It's one
Yeah.
of my hyperfixations. It's fine. One word.
Tell me more about Garrus's biceps. No, I'm just,
Dude, where's my boyfriend? It's fine.
oh my god. Garrus, your
Um,
scales are so firm. Just
That's so.
sorry,
Okay.
Nick.
I was like,
No,
did
no,
you
no,
wait
you're
till
good.
she took a drink on purpose?
I know.
Oh, 100%.
Right.
I was looking for a spit
LaCroix
take.
all over my
Yeah.
apartment.
Sparkling water everywhere.
It's like that word.
Are we still on Romantasy? I think we are. I
Yeah,
think we-
just like fairy dust. Just
yeah. Anyway, yeah, no, well, but again, like I just think like this idea, and I think like part of it is driven by the kind of games that he would create, where it's like this action RPG where it wasn't super story driven. It's more about kind of the grind and getting stronger and you play it with other people. And in those, like, I mean, like that kind of game is very different than something like The Last of Us or even Mass Effect, where it is like very story heavy and it lends itself to like an adaptation. But
I mean, The Last of Us
where-
works perfectly because it's so linear.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas like the Torchlight games that he made are about like grinding XP and getting stronger, and that does kind of get like a certain kind of person and a certain kind of community, but I do like, so there's that aspect that I'm interested to kind of hear of what you, because I know you're all gamers. Obviously, we were just talking about Mass Effect. I know that Greta's big in D&D, but I do think that even though that's gaming, it's a very different type of gaming. Curious about what you think about like that and the communities of it, but then also like kind of with that, I think that the community, despite the very strange parasocial relationships that we were also talking about, community, I think, and building connections in this like parasocial way is the most important thing that we can do in our careers at this point, because it's what AI will never be able to do. AI someday will write a good book, a really good book someday, but it can't bullshit with you or go drink mead and sit at a bathtub with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or even just be at the con and listen to you when you're being like, yeah, you're one of my top 3, and be like, well, thank you. You know what I mean? Like AI can't do that, and it won't do that ever. But
AI will never be my top.
So anyway, like, I mean, I don't know like what exactly the question is there, but it's more just kind of what do you think about like these different communities and the importance of building your own community and putting, and I know like MJ, you were saying like you feel like it's important in these interviews to get out of the way, but I kind of feel like more so it's important to while we want to kind of put the spotlight on our guests in an interview, we also need to show a little bit of ourselves and like allow the audience that we're building to connect with Adrian, with MJ, with Greta in your show,
Because you're building a rapport with your listeners as much as your guest.
Yeah,
Right.
you're the through line still, even
Right.
if you want to get out of the way. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
some of that through line though comes from, because I think the personality of the host, right? Like let's use a YouTube channel or podcast as our like example for the first thing. I think some of the personality of the host comes through even in just the format of the show. So like the fact that this is very conversational and we are kind of going off the rails and it's not a problem, it's just fun, unless it is a problem, in which case, sorry.
Good luck editing this.
That speaks to, the energy that you guys as the hosts are bringing and will draw in the right audience that appreciates that kind of more fun, conversational, casual energy. Or something that is a little more buttoned up or a little more like a classroom format or something would maybe draw in a different
NPR,
audience,
where
right?
everyone's talking very
I think that there's,
monotone, very
different
soft.
ways to build that community.
Please keep your hands and feet inside the podcast at all times.
Do not go off the rails. I'm
This
sorry,
is-
but
that was-
way too fucking far off the rails.
This is our drive, I guess.
We don't even know where the rails are. It's
The
fine.
rails are non-existent.
We
This is
didn't
the
put
most
any rails.
haywire roller coaster
You know?
ever.
I'm here
It's like
for it.
Roller
I'm here
Coaster
for it.
Tycoon, where you could build beyond
Oh, I
physics.
love it.
That's where we are.
Yeah, yeah. And then you
I'm
just
here
like
for
delete a
it.
section and everyone's fucked. They fly off into nowhere.
Oh my god, I saw
Promise not to do that. You're
Reddit
fine
post.
in this podcast.
Yeah.
where they would launch people into the competing part
Yeah,
so that their ratings
I
would go
totally
down.
did that. I was be like, my guests are now yours.
It's like the kid canon.
Oh my
That's
god.
funny.
Anyway,
But Nick, I totally agree with MJ. It's kind of like, a lot of it just comes down to taste. It's like your community will be a reflection of your tastes, right? In the sense that the podcasts that I listen to them because I vibe with the hosts, their style, the way that they convey their information, the way that the things that they talk about, et cetera, et cetera. That's super important to me. Same thing with books, same thing with video games, same thing with TV shows, movies, whatever, same thing with friends, same thing with relationships. It all comes down to like, what vibe do I get from this person and do we click? And so, you know, for us, it's like we're in the break-ins, we're in this like debut author group, and we've known each other for years through Discord and through like video calls and stuff like that. But there's still an ability for us to kind of like sense each other and kind of get a feel for like, what is this relationship and am I like fully invested in this, to the point where we met in person in Seattle and it was like, hey man, you know, like as if I just saw you yesterday, you know, as if we've been like hanging out in the same city for years kind of thing. And so a lot of it just comes down to like your personal tastes and your personality and how that clicks with other people. And that's like the entire reason that I invited MJ to become my co-host originally. And that's the entire reason we invited Greta to become our second co-host, is because like the vibes were right. And like Greta and I had a moment in Glasgow last year where we were sitting on a train going to Edinburgh. We just like, it was the Monday after like 4 days of convention.
So exhausted.
We were so exhausted, and we just like, we sat on this train. It was like the beautiful Scottish countryside just rolling by, and we looked at each other, and it was like we didn't even need to say anything. It was as if we'd been friends for years, and we're just kind of like, we can be in each other's presence and we don't have to say a single thing. And it was beautiful. And it was like, true friendship can exist in silence as much as it can in conversation.
with the person you met in person like 3 days ago, you know.
Yeah, straight up.
We
Straight
built a
up.
community online, you know.
Yeah.
Love that, actually.
And
that
our
was even though that was-
2021 debut group that MJ and I were in, like, saved my freaking life. Because it was, like, fresh off the pandemic. Things were, like, barely opening up, kind of, sort of, but then closing down again.
I was going to say, and then everything was closed again. And then it was, yeah.
And, but, like, having a reliable group of people that were going through this crazy debut process that makes no sense and you have no control over, but you feel like you should have control over, but you really don't.
Right.
It's so necessary and vital. And like you said before, that's something that AI will never be able to replace. Please stop using ChatGPT as your therapist, everyone. That's
Dude.
my PSA.
Good PSA.
So yeah, man, honestly, like, community is everything for me personally. Like, I wouldn't still be doing this if it weren't for the fact that it's like, straight up, some of my best friends are along for this ride with me. Like, we have a speaking of therapy, we have a writing therapy group. It's not even like writing critique. We just like like talk and basically like, this is what I achieved in the last 2 weeks and these are my goals for the next 2 weeks, kind of thing. But it's like a really nice way to vent and just kind of get everything out there and talk about our successes and talk about our failures and everything like that. And it's with Crystal Matar and Michael Vadney and MJ and Greta and I. And it's just really nice to be able to hang out with friends and be like, yep, we're all in this shit show together. And what's going on with you? How can I help? What are some like words of wisdom that I can offer? Some like a shoulder to cry upon, whatever it may be. It's just really nice to know that it's like, regardless of the fact that I'm on this creative journey and like 50% of the time I don't know what the fuck I'm doing or what's going to happen.
Only 50. You're doing great.
You're in my brain. You're literally in my brain. You beat me to the joke by like 0.4 seconds.
There you go. There you go. So I mean, like, 50's calling it good. Like 50% is solid, you know? The fact that you can just be like, I feel like I'm just derailing, and then there are countless people that you can rely on to get you back on the tracks and kind of ground you is super important.
Thinking about all that.
Yeah.
But
Gotta let it digest.
And that includes you too, Nick.
Yeah.
I'm always happy
No.
when we get the chance to chat.
yeah. It's right. Yeah, Dana is getting ready to hit the query trenches, so I hope you're taking notes,
Ooh.
Dana. You know, like
You say ready,
Best
like
of
I
luck.
don't have 19 chapters to edit by the end of December, so I don't know how ready is ready. He says
You
this.
I mean-
gotcha.
Yeah, because one of my ADHD tricks is that I tell people I'm going to do something by a certain time, because then I'm a fucking liar if I don't do it, and I'm not going to be a liar. And so
As a
this is
fellow
what-
ADHDer, it is a very effective method.
It
Yeah.
is.
I do this too.
Well,
I will break promises to myself on the daily.
all day.
On
I'm not
the
going to break
Yeah.
a promise to somebody else.
But I will
Exactly.
not tarnish my reputation.
Absolutely not.
I will not disappoint this person who may or may not care if I actually make this goal, but I can
Just
trick
living
myself
for
that
that
I
street
will
cred.
do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yo, it's
exactly.
all about street cred, you
I'm
know?
not a liar.
Or
If
it's
it's
like-
all about
like-
street cred, I am
Yeah.
failing.
But no, my larger goal with December is to take the full work to the National Children's Book Conference in New York.
Nice.
Ooh,
Yeah,
exciting.
I write middle grades fantasy.
Nice.
Yeah.
And are
You
there
got
like
this.
That's a good call.
at this event in New York? Is there like
Editors and
agent
agents.
stuff
Mhm.
and yeah? So
Yeah, all
that's
that good stuff.
like one of my first. So I didn't end up signing with this agent, but one of my first offers for rep was because it was an agent that I pitched in person at a pitch event, and like
Same here.
they didn't offer on the spot, but like
Oh yeah.
having
Yeah.
that FaceTime, I always recommend to people if they can get in for something like that, even if you don't like vibe with the agent, you get feedback on your
Yeah.
query
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
instead of maybe a form reply. You know what I mean? Where you'd never
Mhm.
actually know what went wrong. So yeah, that's gonna be awesome. I'm
And
excited.
one of the
Yeah,
things
that's
that
how
I
I
have to-
met my first agent as well. And it's
Oh.
totally the same. If you are someone who can comfortably speak to someone you don't know, it is
mean-
something I recommend. If it's not your strength, don't worry about it. There are other ways to get an agent.
Well, or
But
even
if
you
you
can't
are
afford
someone
it,
who is
it's
able
like I
to
had
do
to
it,
pay
yeah.
for my pitch slot. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah, no,
Right.
It's
that's
not
one of
free
the things I have to
usually,
pay
but-
for it early, so then I really have to finish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now that's like double.
There you
ADHD
go.
trick,
Yeah.
because
Motivation.
You're gonna waste
That's
your own
motivation.
time, but you're not gonna
Yep.
waste money, right?
Yeah, no.
Steve?
And in terms of
Are
talking,
we the same person, Dana? We just met today. We
he
might be
literally,
the same
he literally
person.
like, you need to meet MJ. He's like, he was like, you need to be on this one, and I was like, I don't know anything about podcasting. And then one of our co-hosts dropped. He's like, well, you're back in, and I was like,
Right,
oh,
you're in.
no, I feel like you're in my brain, girl. I love it.
Right? I like it. We're
Yes.
vibing. It's
But
awesome.
no, it's one of those. It's like she talks about being confident talking to random strangers. I get roasted by 15-year-olds 5 days a week, so.
You're good. You got this. Nothing is
Yeah.
more scary
No.
than
Training.
teenagers.
It's training. Yeah.
Well, I
I
tell
have
them,
earned this cringe.
I tell them I'm too young to be old and wise. I'm too old to be young and cool. So I'm a cringe millennial. Like, welcome to my
I
class.
love it.
Like,
We own it.
Yeah. Own that shit. I think we're all pretty much in that same boat. Yeah.
All right, I want to bring things back to Georgia. Actually, I've got a fun question. I think there, or an interesting question, maybe less fun. We'll see. But
It always comes back to Georgie.
it always comes back to Grandpa George and the rambling, you know. But first, I know, Dana, there were like a couple specific things that you were mentioning too about the big the one you like, the what Cahill said about challenge your defaults.
yeah, that was like the
Oh.
my whole biggest takeaway from the talk. And I'm like, now I'm like reevaluating my entire novel.
Don't do that. Don't do that. No. Too late in the game for that. Evaluate the next one.
It's-
Yeah.
You know?
I pantsed my way to draft 3. I can pants my way to draft 4. It's fine.
Yo, like so much of Mushroom Blues was me being like, I mean, first of all, like the main character is a woman, and so like that was like, oh shit, this is gonna be like kind of difficult. But I'm like, well, fuck, I'm in it now. Let's go.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it's kind of like, yeah, you're just constantly reevaluating what is like your norm, like what is your everyday perceived experience, and then figuring out ways to like not necessarily break that, but just like Ryan was saying, challenging that and thinking of ways where it's like, okay, this is what I would do, but this character is not me, and therefore how do I have to reevaluate my first impulses on what I would do, and then change that up to better reflect that particular character. Because then it's kind of like, man, if this entire book is just characters who act and sound like me, well, that's just shit, you know? because first of all, they all sound the same, but then
Yeah.
second of all, it's like I think reading as much as writing is, like you were saying earlier, Nick, it's an empathy building exercise, and if you're unable to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, or maybe it's like a weird creature alien, so they don't wear shoes, whatever they wear. Maybe
Tentacles,
they have
what have you.
tentacles, hooves,
It's,
whatever
it's
it may
Carl
be.
from DCC. He's
Yeah,
not got
yeah,
shoes,
shoeless,
but, you know.
yeah. Just put myself in your bare feet, whatever.
Yeah, put yourself in his pedicure kit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
All right. I don't know if Carl has a pedicure kit. But
MJ?
Keep reading.
he does have a pedicure kit? All right, great. I mean, you got to keep up your nails, man. You can't just go around having like claws on your feet.
The AI would
you know?
have it no other way.
But it's really important to really think about what characters do, because that will give the readers a more diverse and engaging experience, because not everyone is doing the same thing. If everyone just feels the same, that's why people shat on epic fantasy for so long, because it's like, there's another farm boy who becomes the hero and blah 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 blah, and it's like, I feel like epic fantasy now is really challenging that default that was set in that post Tolkien era, right? And that has made for far better stories, more diverse stories, more interesting stories, and more perspectives and lenses through which we can experience other people's lives, and therefore be less shitty people, because we can better empathize with others.
That was such a cool part of your panel, where they were talking about, like, in such insider baseball that you wouldn't get without the firsthand knowledge that they have, but how certain players in the publishing industry were kind of dictating that sameness, you know,
Exactly.
because that was
Yep.
the only books that they
that
would
was
accept.
so interesting.
Yeah, like how
Right?
George was talking about the editor from Del Rey, who was basically saying like, I want all male protagonists, you know? And it's kind of like, well, not everyone has
Yeah.
a dick, and therefore we don't like dude, you know, get
But
your
it's-
head
Yes.
get your
So,
head out
yes.
of your ass and realize that the world is so much bigger and so much more varied than what you want, you know? And I feel like
Yeah.
the publishing industry runs on trends, but
Yeah, it runs on making safe bets.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
That's really
you
what
know,
it
but
is.
right now the safe bets are like cozy fantasy and romantasy, and now sort of like lit RPG, but even that's not a
I
guarantee
was
if you're
gonna
not
say,
Matt Damon. So
that's like early stage. Maybe it will be, but yeah,
Maybe it will
romantasy
be.
is still king or queen.
But if you guys
That's the
saw
word.
the Walrus article that came out recently of publishing has a gambling problem, like things change,
Fantastic
things
article.
stay the same. If you haven't read it yet, read it. Don't get too sad, but read it.
No, I was recommending it to people where I'm like, not in like a sad bummer way, but in like a
You should just know this.
just
kind
like
of way.
take a good unflinching look at like the realities, because this is the
Yep.
reality that everyone that I know is experiencing. So yeah.
yeah, and this is kind of like a trend that trad is in right now, and I feel like, pointing to Ryan's comment about challenging your default, like self-publishing is where a lot of that experimentation is going on.
Yes.
And there are people who are just kind of like, not even like, I tried pitching this to an agent, I tried going the trad route, but they're like, no, I went self-pub 1st. Like I chose this path because I knew that I wanted my story to be the way I want it, and therefore going the self-pub route, there's obviously that risk regardless of the route that you go. Like I didn't think like publishing a fucking mushroom noir novel would like result in me selling like thousands of copies, right? Like that's not something I thought when I went into it, but I thought self-publishing is a good route because I'm the kind of person who wants to have control over my project, who has control over the narrative, the things that I'm talking about. It's not a really palatable novel for a lot of people, and that's totally fine, but things find their audience. Like there is an audience for most everything out there. Obviously some things are kind of like DOA, and that's really shitty, but at the same time it's like self-pub right now, as it's part of the industry, is really running with this challenging the default, experimenting with genres, experimenting with expectations kind of thing, and it's really cool to see.
The other thing I think that I thought was so interesting was this idea of like, you don't know what you like if you don't know what's out there. And so I thought that, and it's like, I was telling Nick, I was like, I feel like I fight this fight every day with like the literature I teach my kids. Because I'm like, how can you not want to read Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart? I'm sorry, podcast people, you're going to hear about this book every podcast. I cannot help myself. I spent like 15 minutes ranting about it yesterday. Like, I'm obsessed. But if you haven't read it, definitely read it. It's the first novel about Africa that was widely published internationally, that was written by an actual African person. And so he spends the first 140 pages deconstructing, those fuckers who I hate, Conrad.
I was going to say Heart of Darkness.
Yeah, Rudyard Kipling, Conrad. So he has to spend the first 140 pages being like, no, this is Africa. But he does it in this really interesting way with this really flawed protagonist. And then I tell my students, once you get to page 140, things start to fall apart very quickly. But you have to get to page 140 with me and like live this experience that and again, it takes them culturally totally out of their experience. It's like if you've ever read Americana by Chimamanda Adichie. It's like a book that's set in New York, but I'm like, I have never felt more out of place in a book in my life. And I'm like, everybody needs to read text like that where they feel alienated, where they're like, I don't belong here, but I need to experience this. Like, I don't know this life, but I need to.
Yeah, and I mean, that was something that I got tackled directly in Mushroom Blues, where it was like this, basically like this island nation of fungal people gets invaded by humans from another part of this planet. And so it's kind of like this reverse colonization narrative, and where it's like, where it's like the mushroom people as the colonizers, like biologically become colonized by the humans. And like so much of the book is talking about the fact that your cultural programming essentially has built up a foundation of preconceived notions about other people and about yourself. It's kind of like, we were talking to Alex E. Harrow recently about foundational myths and kind of like the myths and narratives that nations are built upon. But not just nations, it can also exist in like corporations, it can also exist in families. It's like so many different societal structures exist on narratives that have been built upon and passed down from generation to generation, or in the case of like a corporation, passed from one CEO to the next CEO, or you know, what have you. Or if it's like a succession type scenario where it's like, you know, maybe the narrative of this company changes from the father to the children kind of thing. But so much of these things are just like hardwired into our brains. It's kind of that feeding into that nurture versus nature type thing, right? And when we read books that make us really uncomfortable, it's actually a really good thing, because it allows us to, again, empathize with the other, empathize with people who are outside of our lived experience and the scenarios that we're familiar with that have built up and accrued over the course of a lifetime. And so when you read this thing where it's like 140 pages, get through that shit, it's like, that is 140 pages of this author deconstructing false narratives about this continent. Mm-hmm. And then once he's done that, he can get to the story that he wants to tell. Then he can construct the new narrative.
And it's more important now than ever before, because we all exist in the echo chamber that is social media. Just the algorithm feeding you. Yeah, the algorithm feeds you what you want to hear.
Just like echo chamber,
challenge
bubbles.
It.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like Ryan said, challenge your default, challenge the echo.
Mm-hmm.
Reach it that makes you uncomfortable. And earn those 140 pages.
Yeah, it's like by the time they get to page 140, they're so invested in I'm like, I told you. It's like, I know things about things or something. Yeah, no, it's like, but it's like, because again, same thing with what they were talking about, like well-written characters. It's like the kids get wrapped up in in the characters of the story, even though they don't know how to relate to, an African going through early colonization. They can still relate to like the emotions and the problems and like the things like that. But it's one of those things where it's just like, see? It's like, I've been doing this for a couple of years or something.
Yeah, I've lived, man.
I'm
in my 30s.
Yeah. Do it because I say it's good for you.
But yeah, that's why literature is beautiful, because it can be, because I know a lot of people, and this is the case for myself, where it's like we're growing up and sometimes we can feel alienated, within like social groups, in school and even in like within a family and that kind of stuff. And literature kind of becomes an escape that you can really look forward to, and you can basically be like, I want to live somebody else's life because maybe it's more interesting than mine, maybe it feels more safe, maybe it feels safer than mine, maybe it feels like I have more control in this fictional space than I do in real life. And so there's a lot of beauty in storytelling that Nick's just like hard agree.
Right. Like that's just to say to anyone listening, like whether you're a reader or a writer, early career, whatever you are, if you're ever thinking of going to any of these things, fucking go. If a part of you is like, this might be fun, it will be the best time. I promise you. Like, there are tons of people, like that guy was mentioning, Pippin. He's a fan and a reviewer and whatnot. He's not a writer, at least not right now. But he's been to these things. He knows the people he connects, and he always has a blast. You know what I mean? It is going to be the most welcoming group of nerds you've ever been around. You're going to have like a great time.
We
Definitely
say
recommend.
that old adage, never meet your heroes, does not apply to if your heroes are authors. Because like every like famous author that we've met for the show has just been like, well, they were a delight.
Well, this has been a blast. I feel like I could keep you guys all night, but I probably shouldn't. I don't want to get the dark MJ, you know?
Right. Dark MJ just goes to sleep, so.
Let's go ladies first, Greta and MJ, and then Adrian. Can you tell folks where they can find and follow you online? And so when we get to Adrian, you got to tell them where to get your podcast when they're done with listening to me talk, you know?
Yeah, sure. You can find me on Instagram, mostly, also a little bit on TikTok and X at Greta K. Kelly, or on my website at gretakkelly.com.
And you can go buy The Queen of Days or The Frozen Crown for the Seventh Queen.
Or The Seventh Queen.
Yeah.
Anywhere you like to buy books.
Nice.
Yeah, you can find me across all the main socials. I'm really inactive everywhere, though, except for Instagram, at MJ Kuhn Books, or just go to mjkuhn.com. You can sign up for my very inactive newsletter there, and you get a free novelette if you do that. So it's like really free.
Same with my website.
I'll probably forget to even email you. And then you can pick up my books, Among Thieves, Thick as Thieves, wherever fine books are sold. So.
Yeah.
Do the
For
feed MJ's
podcast
cats.
listeners, can you spell coon?
Oh, Kuhn. And so it's pronounced like raccoon, but it's very German in reality.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why I call her MJ the Raccoon. That's my Jersey MJ.
You're
My Jersey baby. You can
That's
find
your
me-
heist name.
Yeah,
Right?
there you go. Yeah. What would be your high skill as MJ the Raccoon? Would you be like the thief? I mean, you'd have to be the thief.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
if we're a raccoon,
Or
I
a
guess
strong-
we'll
And
go
strong woman,
you wear
the
like
muscle.
black gloves over your little hands.
It's got to
Yeah.
be like the cutout eyes on the mask, right?
Right.
Has to be.
Just the thinnest
Yeah.
mask that somehow
Yeah.
people can't
Everyone
see
else
right
Yeah.
underneath
doing
through.
useful heist
Yeah.
things. I'm just washing my snacks in a puddle.
Where's MJ? She's in the dumpster. Oh my god. With your little fucking mask on, as if anyone.
Yep.
It's like fucking
Yep.
Catwoman. It's just like, no.
No,
It's clearly you. This is so stupid.
Nice try, Selena Kyle.
where can we
I
find
can see
you
your
online,
tattoos.
Adrian?
Oh my god. You can follow me at Adrian M. Gibson on every platform. I'm pretty active most places. Instagram's my jam though. And you can go to adrianmgibson.com, where you can also sign up for my newsletter, which is much more active than theirs. And
Shots fired.
I mean,
That's deserved, man.
Yeah, accepted.
I don't even have a response to that because it's just like, yeah, of course. And I also do book design if you need someone to do your book cover or interior design and that kind of stuff. I did the design for Shattered.
He's really good.
The front cover was Jeff Brown, but I did the rest. And
yeah.
yeah, so you can find all that at adrianmgibson.com, and you can go check out Mushroom Blues if you want a bit of fungal noir in your life, and a murder mystery wrapped in mycelium and colonization. And SFF Addicts is on every podcast platform. You can find it in video on Spotify or on YouTube.
Oh.
The YouTube channel is FanFi Addict, and yeah, we put out new episodes every Tuesday. So it's either a writing masterclass or an author interview. And we got I think our upcoming episode is like 175. So you got like 175 episodes to go check out.
Binge listen.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in there. So yeah, ton of amazing authors that we've chatted with, and a lot of amazing advice and practical writing craft stuff and all that kind of thing.
Check it out. They're good. Dana, where can people find you on Instagram?
I have an Instagram. It's called Dana Writes Things. It's relatively new, so if you like feral ADHD hacks for life, deadlifts, or like a general lack of posting, I'm your girl.
Seriously, like you and MJ, this is like uncanny.
like soul sisters.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Deadlifts, like Jesus
I was
Christ,
gonna say
Dana.
deadlifts,
This is
ADHD.
yeah,
Books.
all of it, all of it.
All I need to know.
I knew you two would get along.
Best
I knew.
forever.
I knew. But the other day, like Dante and Jeff Brown, Dante was like, "Did we just become best friends?" All right. And this has been our first
Oh my
episode
God.
of Nerdy Nebula Podcast.
I love it.
Crushed it.
Can only go
Crushed
up from
it.
here.
2 fucking hours, man.
Yeah, this was a blast. Thank you guys for hanging out.
Thank you.
Every Thursday, we're going to be on YouTube and all the podcast listening places, but you can get early, ad-free, extended editions on our Patreon, so that's something to check out, too.
Yeah. I
thank you.
also sent Nick a reading from Mushroom Blues if you want to hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got one from MJ,
yeah.
and Greta's going to give me one, I think.
Yes.
You, Dana, you sign us off with whatever you think was the good one. Give it a hit me.
I'll hit you with what I've been using on my
Yeah.
very rare Instagram posts. All right,
Yeah.
guys. We'll see you later. Read books, be kind, and stay weird.
Like it.
Love it.
Stay
Love it.
weird, y'all.